So I come from a pretty small town towards the coast, probably about 100 miles east of here, called Hampton. And it's mostly known for being around the shipbuilding in Norfolk and for crabs. So my high school mascot was the crab. We were the Hampton Crabbers. Um, Hampton High was sort of an inner city kind of high school, and I lived in a small neighborhood, uh, maybe 10 minutes away from the school, called Tide Mill Farms, which had a little creek running through it, and it used to be farms at some point, but nowadays it's just a very suburban kind of neighborhood with a lot of elderly people that have been there for a long time, and there's a bunch of townhouses, and across the street is a much wealthier neighborhood with a bunch of empty houses no one can afford to live in. Um, my family is two parents and one sister. My sister's older than me. Um, my family is from Norway. It's several generations back, so it's something I don't tend to claim, but it is a culture that I do have. We don't speak Norwegian, we don't speak anything but English in the house, but we do make Norwegian desserts for Christmas, and we make a lot of jokes about being Norwegian. I have a really big Norwegian flag in my bedroom, and my father has one as well. Our last name is Soli, which is a Norwegian name. Supposedly it means hill in Icelandic, which is as close as modern day languages get to ancient Norse. I don't know if that's true. I've looked it up and I haven't been able to find anything to confirm that, but it is an interesting sort of story. I don't know for sure, but I know it's spelled differently with my family in Norway. But my family in America, there's probably 27 people in the country with my last name. So I do know for a fact that I never get any of those, like a number or anything added after my name, because I'm the only Tessa Soli, as far as I know, anywhere ever, which is kind of cool. My family's white. We are American. My mother likes to claim lots of different cultures that she doesn't really know much about. But it's true that further back in our heritage, we're a little bit German and we're a little bit Scottish, but by and large, my mother's family came over to America in 1607, so we're about as American as it gets when it comes to European Americans that came over. Um, we were one of the first ones to come. So, yeah, I grew up sort of Christian. We didn't go to church every week, but we certainly did attend a few different churches. My parents were married in a church. I was baptized, I believe. I know I was christened. And I went to a Baptist church and a Methodist church at different points in my life. And I did enjoy the church, and I've taken Bible classes here, like with a much closer analysis and study of the Bible. And I do really like the idea of religion and of higher powers and such. However, I'm not sure I actually follow like a particular religion. I think that's called agnostic. I'm not really sure. I always called it vague Christianity. But yeah, so that's what my belief is. My mother is Christian, my father is an atheist, and I'm not sure about my sister. Yeah, so as for our culture, we do have sort of like a 757 culture, I guess you could say. There's different slang and colloquialisms in my area that don't exist here. And I didn't realize it till I came up here and I started trying to say different things that nobody here understood what we were saying. We have a different dialect as well, I would say. The most I hear of it is when I say Norfolk. A lot of you guys say Norfolk, which is a little odd to me because everybody in Norfolk says it Norfolk. I don't know why. It's just something I grew up saying. Since my family's from there and has been from there for so long, that's just how I've always said it. And nobody ever pointed it out till I was like 17 or 18. It's just how I've always said it. But Growing up, I always wanted to go to VCU. I don't know why particularly. A couple of my cousins went here. One still does. And I just loved the city of Richmond. I think that's mostly what made me want to go here. I love the diversity here. I live in the international dorm now in the Globe program. Globe is dedicated to helping us sort of interact with people from different cultures. So all of the international students live in this building, and I work with them on a daily basis as an RA. But also, they're very dedicated to getting us all to study abroad. And of course I want to study abroad. Next summer I'm hoping to do the Austria program, go to Austria, Vienna and Austria, and study German and street photography. And of course someday I would like to get over to Germany and see if I can use some sort of immersion practice to kind of get better at speaking German. And I did IB in high school as well, International Baccalaureate, which is kind of like a global education program as well. But I came to VCU to study English 2 years ago, and I'm still an English major today. I figured out I wanted to be an English major my senior year of high school. We had to write, our junior and senior year of high school, as part of IB, we had to write a long paper. It was sort of our IB thesis, I guess. It was only about 4,000 words, but still. And my topic was supposed to be physics, but it turns out I'm really bad at science. I wanted to write about science fiction and the science behind it, sort of, to see like what the facts would be in science fiction, but it turns out, I don't know anything about science, so I couldn't do that. So instead, I wrote about science fiction as literature, but I realized then that I was supposed to be an English major. So I came here to study English, and last semester, actually, I added a second major in German, which I've been studying for the past 4 years, but originally it was a minor. However, Professor Lonis sort of convinced me that I could do it as a major, and I probably owe it to myself to do that. I have always been very active in studying German. I was in the German club in high school, and here as well, and it's just always been something I was really into and really passionate about. I just didn't think there was any career in it, but I have been studying education here. I wanted to be an English teacher, but I realized I would be a much more marketable teacher if I could teach either English or German. So with both of those degrees, I want to go and be an IB teacher. I'll get my IB certification after I finish my Master's of Teaching here. And ultimately, I want to be an IB coordinator who sort of runs the whole program at a particular school. They determine like what classes are offered, and they help the students through it and sort of arrange the exams, and they're just there, and their job is to just kind of be there for the students and to make sure the program runs smoothly and arrange all the medal ceremonies and the pinnings and stuff like that. That's what I want to do. Because I had a great coordinator my last year of IB, and I know he was very overworked because the program hadn't been run particularly well before he took over, and he worked so hard to make it great for us and to make sure that we would all succeed and pass. Our diploma rate was not great, but after he joined, our diploma rate went up by a significant amount because he worked to make sure that we were taking the classes we needed to pass. So I really want that as my job ultimately, and I love teaching. I work now as a tutor and a teaching assistant, and I'm currently a resident assistant, and yeah, I just really enjoy helping people learn and seeing them understand things. So I have had a really good time learning how to teach and learning how to speak German and learning how to read books critically and write. And I'm having a great time. So if you were to ask me what particularly was my culture, how I identify my culture, I would say, I guess first American, because that's sort of like a default nationality, and I believe we read an article where somebody wasn't sure about claiming their nationality as a culture, but there it is, I am from here. But I identify myself more so as a student. You've probably noticed that everything I had to say, by and large, was about my education rather than about my past and my history. that's what I like to do. I like to study. I like to learn. I like to teach. So I identify as a student, and I hope to identify as a teacher someday. So my culture is the culture of VCU. My culture is the culture of global education. My culture is the culture of Richmond, and that's sort of what I consider myself to be a part of.